Hello and welcome to Fatboss Bitesize. Today we're going to be taking a bite out of the Darkheart Thicket 5-man dungeon on Mythic difficulty. This video is going to assume that you know not to stand in the fire, that you would dispel harmful debuffs from your allies, and that trash should generally be grouped up and stunned when possible, that kind of thing. So we're going to cover key trash abilities as well as all of the bosses you will find in Darkheart Thicket on Mythic difficulty and below. Now, kicking it straight off, there is a lot of trash before the first boss, and it is very dangerous. Interrupt the unnerving screech from the mind-shattered screechers to avoid a disorient, and make sure to heal up the debuff from the cats jumping around. You'll also want to interrupt the star shower from the Dreadsoul Ruiners, and beware the charge from the Razorbeaks. Now, a fair amount of trash in this instance is skippable. Try to stick close to the left-hand wall as you enter the area after the bear. Follow that wall around and you'll come to a gap in the wall. Jump to the left of that to bypass some of the trash. You can then go down the path hugging the wall to the right to skip even more trash. When fighting the two bears at the end of the path, try to focus one down at a time to reduce the damage taken from the Maddening Roar ability. Do note that this Maddening Roar can actually be outranged, so if you're on super high stacks, try and run out of range when it's about to come in. The first boss is Archdruid Gladius. Tank, make sure you face the boss away from the group for the Primal Rage charge. If you can put your back up against the wall, then make sure you do, because this will reduce the amount of movement the melee will have to do to keep up to the boss. As the healer, make sure you top up players with the bleed debuff to over 90% to remove it. And DPS, make sure you kite and kill off any adds that spawn as soon as possible to reduce the amount of goo that will be spread in the area. The majority of the trash after the first boss revolves around the principle of don't stand in the bad, but once you get to the Misty area, you will fight Nightmare Dwellers. You need to interrupt their tormenting eye cast, as it will otherwise fear the target. These can be CC'd and stunned, so if you run out of interrupts, make sure you use those instead. The next boss is Oakheart. Tank, make sure you face the boss away from the group for the breath, and also use a personal cooldown when the Crushing Grip comes in. The player targeted by the Crushing Grip throw should move into melee to reduce the overall boss movement after the throw has happened. Everyone should be avoiding the strangling roots, and if anyone does get caught, kill off the root as soon as you can. Also, make sure you don't get knocked back into a root. When the adds spawn from the roots, don't panic, just cleave them down under the boss, they don't really do anything. However, if your damage is low and you have loads of strangling roots, you might actually want to take out the roots instead just to reduce the amount of adds that spawn. After you've killed this giant tree, go left into the swamp area. Make sure you do not touch the eggs around the edges of the room, as they will spawn additional whelps for you to deal with, and nobody likes a Leroy. Be careful of the Blood-Tainted Fury's ability to knock players around, as you can be knocked into additional whelps, which is very funny, but it does slow you down quite a lot. Also, beware of the pools of goo left behind by the slimes, as it can be really difficult to spot and it does do a fair amount of damage. The next boss is Dresseron. Tank, once again, face the boss away from the group because of the breath, but once the breath starts casting, you can actually sidestep out of its way to avoid taking any damage at all. Everyone beware the patches of falling rock falling from the sky from the earth-shaking roar, and be relatively close to the boss for the downdraft. The closer you are to the boss, the weaker the knockback. Don't run into any of the eggs around the sides of the room, and when you inevitably get whelplings because someone didn't listen to what I just said, beware of the 8-yard explosion that the whelps do when they die. Jump down into the open tree trunk to make your way to the last boss. The trash down here involves a fair amount of spellcasters, so interrupt as much as possible. The last boss is the Shade of Xavius. Healers, dispel the festering rip debuff and spot heal the feed on the weak target. Everyone, if you have the waking nightmare debuff, which is the nice little circle around you, stand next to somebody and cuddle them, otherwise you will be silenced and pacified until you do so. If you get the induced paranoia debuff, which puts red roots underneath you, don't stand near anybody, otherwise you'll take a burst of damage and get feared. At around 50% HP, use a personal damage reduction on the group-wide damage about to come in, and then avoid all the swirly circles on the ground. And that's it. Enjoy your loot. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you out, support us by throwing a like on it, or support us further by heading over to our Patreon. See you next time.